So, now I think would be a better time than ever to go ahead and go under the skin of Dimensions Unfurled, one of the major last chunks for the Anatomy Crosscast, and its first date with Celestial Scourge. So, if I go over to Spotify on my phone, type in Celestial... Oh, wait. Dimensions Unfurled is right here. So, when we do Under the Skin, we usually start out this part of the Crosscast turning the album or EP into an alternate creative medium. Now, over time, since we have done these Under the Skin sessions, which is track-by-track lyrical dissection, conjuring up any substance that could be on the EP, any themes or any stories that you decided to write that then compile into this EP, we will usually attempt to turn it into an alternate creative medium such as a book, a movie. Dane Evans actually wanted Everyone's a Murderer, their latest album, to be portrayed as graffiti in a random ass alley, which ended up being very, very fascinating because sometimes a tag tells as much of a story as a CD or a vinyl does. So, if you were to turn this into an alternate creative medium as an EP, what would you turn it into? A book, a movie, a painting? What would this become for you?
I think Dimensions Unfurled would be a really good, short miniseries on Netflix. Like, if that makes sense. Like, it's absolutely bingeable, and every episode has its own little flair, and there's no great red line going the whole through the whole thing. Like, Observers of the Inevitable has more stuff that goes well together. Like, there are a couple of songs that are like the same story and you call it universe, but like just the let's call it like a really crazy outwardly space sci-fi Black Mirror miniseries.
Okay.
Where every episode is like its own thing, but it's kind of the same universe, but completely different stuff happens every episode.
Interesting.
Pretty much.
So maybe, quote, brought to you by the team who made Black Mirror episodes comes Dimensions Unfurled by Celestial Scourge. Just
Yeah. There you go.
Weird 8-bit music. Okay, so this would be a then five episode? Yeah, 5-episode miniseries on Netflix, brought to you by the creators of Black Mirror. Simple as that. Does this all end up unleashing in one day, as per Netflix tradition, or do you have them uploaded episode by episode to slowly piece it together?
I really do miss it when you had to wait a week for every episode. But since everything is so packed, because every song is so short and intense in its own way, when you get the whole thing, you're kind of full in a good way, I hope. So we didn't create the EP for it to be bingeable, but it would be really bingeable if it were episodes.
Yeah.
So I think the smartest move would just be to drop everything at once, and people would just go for everything because it's that batshit crazy, you know.
Yeah. Are the episodes half an hour or an hour each? Because I think an hour each is kind of standard for most TV shows these days. When it's
we're doing 20 minutes.
20 minutes? Oh shit. Okay. Man.
20 minutes, yeah.
You're not planning to take that much time out of people's days. Okay. So
it's kind of the Love Death Robot series.
Yeah. I haven't watched it. But yeah, I know what it is.
It's kind of like that, where it's everything from 10 to 20 minutes, where like some episode, like the Moon Dweller song would be a great fucking episode for especially that, like a really good one actually.
There you go. Okay. And then if we have this Netflix miniseries where the episodes are only about 20 minutes each, and then you got 5 of those, so that's maybe an hour and 40 minutes. It's crazy. After that, let's go ahead and talk about the cover art, right? So of course, you have this 5-episode miniseries, but let's just say that the art from Erskine Illustrations is used once more to depict the events and depict the chaos, the cosmic chaos that is the Celestial Scourge to occur. If I remember correctly, Stain told me you guys just kind of like bought this off of Erskine.
Yeah, well, he did. He had it like stored away for future use, and then he just like, I already have this artwork, and then he just showed it to me, and I was like, yeah, it's cool.
Okay, okay.
As long as it's not AI, I'm fine with it.
Hey, I'm glad we're on the same page there. I think AI deprives many artists of many opportunities, whether for commission or music. So good on you for that. Then afterwards, because this wasn't exactly a commission, but Observers of the Inevitable and its commission, its cover art was a commission. Hopefully we can get Caesar on for that session. I think that'd be really sick. That way we can talk with him about the album cover, and maybe we can reflect upon the conversations that you boys had with him in getting that original piece done. But now it's time for that good old track by track lyrical dissection for the songs on Dimensions Unfurled. So we start with The Vast Profound. What I want you to do with each of the 5 tracks on this EP is go ahead and, 1, tell us the surface level meaning behind this song. Any substance at all. Go ahead and give us, like, the same way that you introduced yourself at the very beginning of the Anatomy Crosscast. Go ahead and give us an elementary level understanding of this song. Part B, go ahead and pick out a lyrical chunk from the song that you think best fits with the meaning, and then anything else going under the skin afterwards, go ahead and do that to conclude, and then we'll do this 5 different times for each of the tracks. Take it away, sir.
Yeah, I'll try my best. The Vast Profound is pretty much just this, like, because since it was the opener, I wanted like to picture kind of like an opening story to this weird universe, which still is technically our own. Like, I haven't put us in like a different galaxy or something like that, but just like emphasizing that there are others. So The Vast Profound is pretty much just like this great opening of like a rift, showcasing all that is possible within the universe and the galaxies, and that there's so much that we can't even fathom or dream about or like think through, and just like how much of this information gets overflowed to us. And the Vast Profound is like trying to really just throw you into this whole spectrum of theories and different universes, and showcasing like what can go really, really bad if we were to come across a celestial being or anything out of this world. That because like a lot of humans are like they want to know if there's more life out there, and they want to see aliens and blah blah blah. Me personally, of course, aliens are cool and all that stuff, but like if we're smart, I don't want to visit any alien or like we don't fucking know what they're capable of. Like maybe he can just
See,
snap his maybe he can snap his fingers and we're all turned to fucking donuts. Who knows? Like that's really dumb. Like but like the possibilities are like seriously endless. Like we have no fucking clue. So like the vast profound is a really good just come here and listen up, you fucker. This is what's a possible. Like this might be a possibility to some extent, like to some percentage, a small one for now, but like because it's a lot about that we get dragged into like our curiosity as a species makes it go to for the worse for us. So we interfere with this, with all these possibilities and theories to the extent that it turns back on us and really shoves it up our ass, pretty much.
yeah. Well, not only that, but in that case, are you familiar with the dark force theory?
Yeah, I've heard about it. Yeah,
I get the feeling that you're pretty like in tune with that then, and that's like, yeah, absolutely, dark force. Like, don't say a word that way. The more predatory species of the universe don't find us, you know, in hiding in different corners of the world in the forest, which the dark.
yeah. We don't know. We have no fucking clue. Like
Yeah.
there could be like this orb of fucking sludge and shit, and if we just touch it, then we're fucked in an instant. Like we seriously just don't know,
That's
and
fair.
that's kind of like just showcases how far we seriously can stretch this stuff because we just seriously don't know. We don't have these answers, and that's kind of intriguing for me at least.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
But
Well,
like the best part, like lyrically wise, that like describes the song is probably the last four lines, which are word. Oh my god, I can't even say my own lyrics. Worlds have now fallen, and all life is lost. The seed was intended for creatures of blood. My world is forever lost into the flames. The vastness of killing is haunting my name.
okay, cool. And then, yeah, I mean, more or less, you have provided that deeper understanding, that deeper explanation of the song, which is really just the vast profound. Like, there is so much we don't know about the universe, so of course, there is ultimately a chance that beings or creatures, sentiences, intelligences beyond our own understanding could look like what we see on the EP cover for Dimensions Unfurled. And Unfurled, I thought that to be a very, very fascinating word. So, what does unfurled mean? What does furled mean?
Like the actual,
Yeah.
because like then I'll just go to the definition.
Yeah. I got you.
Uh,
So it says to make or become spread out from a rolled or folded state, especially in order to be open to the wind. Oh,
Yeah.
right. That's why I've heard it before. It's like reference, like furl the sails.
rolling out, like opening up in a weird way.
Yeah. Okay. So dimensions unfurled. That was a good choice of words. I like that. The reason I
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's what slam albums should be, dude. That's what brutal death metal and slam albums should be. Are not just, oh yeah, it kind of sounds intelligent. It's like, no. There's a little bit more to it. Dimensions unfurled, then it's like dimensions or reality unfolding before our eyes, and like the possibilities of those infinite dimensions and those infinite realities unfolding before us. I like that. I really do. Okay. So now that we
Yeah,
understand,
thinking 100%.
yeah, now that
That's
we understand,
that's also because like that's what came to me when I saw the cover. Like, because you have that small guy with a staff. Let's call him the Wanderer or like the Seeker or like the guy who's a little too curious and has the possibility to get some answers.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can go more into that when we come to Dimensions Unfurled itself, maybe, the song.
Right. So, in that case, then, we do track 2, which is Moon Dweller. What's going on here?
Yeah, I kind of explained it earlier a little bit, but yeah, it's about like a theory, like just call it a fun theory I just made up about it being this being or monster living beneath the moon's surface that's been able to cloak itself away from modern techno. Like, yeah, humans haven't been able to spot this thing, and we're like, oh, there's no life on the moon. It's the closest thing we have to us, and yeah, it does us no harm. But then we start to get desperate for new resources when like oil and stuff deplete, and then we start to mine some shit on the moon, and then we open up this big cavernous part of the moon which this being lives in, and shit goes bad from there because that thing can fucking turn you inside out in a second. That's pretty much just, yeah, the overall vibe. Just like a fun story I made with something that we absolutely like. The moon, we can see it pretty much almost every day, like it's just right there. So I really like to just bring something that's really close to us and that we know a lot about, and just turn it on its head and just make it a little bit crazy.
Yeah, naturally. Well, in that case, what would be a lyric that best correlates with the theme of Moon Dweller in the song?
Probably pretty early. It's we must act with haste to seize it from existence. There have been calls for aid. Our very own will be slaughtered. Which are the like miners and workers on the moon who got trapped within the Moon Dweller's lair, and they're gonna get slaughtered pretty quick, and we here on Earth have to like solve it quickly.
I see. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, next track would be Elliptical Orbit.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's the first song I wrote lyrics for. It's also the first song we ever published
Oh shit.
for the band. So just like only on that aspect, it's pretty special to at least me and Stian. So when we do that song live, it's like this is where it started.
Right.
But an elliptical orbit is just like the path of like the oval shaped paths the planets or stars or everything in space pretty much evolves around. Like in life, this is like almost like a Hindu part of it, like how everything becomes like full circle also in space.
Right.
But in its own off-shaped way. So just the first lyrics, like I went too deep into my own body, found something that made me wondering about what's moving like inside me. Like we all have our own way of moving, our own orbits that will always like these patterns that we evolve around, but things happen for the better or worse, and we might go off course. in our own orbit, and that will make some people turn to the worse, and shit will go bad.
Right.
It's like the deeper meaning behind that song.
Okay, cool. Sweet. Let's see. Next one, I do believe, is the title track, so Dimensions Unfurled.
Yeah, and it's pretty much just describing. We also had a lyrical video for that through the label, so it's pretty easy for people to just look that up and read them themselves if they want to.
Yes.
But yeah, it's pretty much just describing the whole album, that there are these dimensions that we have no clue about, like we have like seriously no idea of what's possible out there, and there's this seeker on the cover who solves a way to open up the dimensions and like start to like pick out the different dimensions he wanders into and see what the fuck is up. And one of those dimensions has this big purple monster, which is the one on the cover. So it's just pretty much like I have this power in my hands to get some answers to all these mysteries about space and something that is very much real, but we don't, like a lot of people don't look at space as something even being realistic, like something like people like you look at space and space rocks and stars as you would look at nature, a forest, mountains. Like it's very much a part of us, like everything here is on Earth. But yeah, this guy just opens up everything, and shit just goes, it turmoils into all these bad sides of the dimensions and just showcases him what we've been missing out, and we always like we should be missing out, like we don't want to be a part of this. Pretty much, and we just get dragged into it and there's no way back, pretty much. That's the meaning.
Okay, cool.
And a good sentence, like a good line for that is probably behold in all its glory the rift in time and the dwellers of the far beyond. Which is, yeah, he opens up that rift and he sees it all before his eyes, and it goes pretty bad.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. And then the final track on this 5-piece appetizer EP, Dimensions Unfurled, then in this conversation converted into a 5-episode, 20-minute episode miniseries on Netflix made by the folks who worked on Black Mirror and Love, Death, and Robots alike. We have Mortal Sun. What is Mortal Sun talking about?
The title kind of speaks for itself. It's about, like, because there are many suns out there, it's not just our one, and like our sun is like one of the smaller ones in the universe, but it's just pretty much about the mortality of what gives us life, which is the sun. So how every star we see is very much, like, very often the stars we see are suns that are dying or exploding, or and there's a term called some suns are called the red giant, because of like how it's gonna erupt, and like everything that gives life will also die, including the sun. So it's pretty much just evolving around, like, it's probably the most realistic and real lyric and of them all, because we know this for a fact that it's going to happen. The sun will actually die, in X amount of billions of years, but still, like, it's pretty fucked up when you think about it. Like, what gave us this fucking PC I'm using now, and you sitting there in the US, like, that shit's gonna go away. And that in itself is pretty fucked up, and not just in a cosmic sense. That's just like real life shit. So I think I just want to make a song that's like actually real, like showing the like a non-fantasy or sci-fi aspect of space. Like, this is brutal and fucked up, and it's 100% real, pretty much. Like, bringing, like I told about the whole Death Atlas thing, like how you can make real life as like showcasing life in its worst or most like real fucked up form, and that the sun is gonna explode and swallow us all. It's pretty fucked up.
No, seriously.
At least for me, it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's I don't know, there's a comfort in that, though, for me. There's a comfort in that everything, even beyond our understanding and beyond our human scale, all things are mortal. Nothing's immortal, not really. And I'm sure even the cosmos, as we understand them to be, perhaps even those dimensions that have yet to be furled or unfurled, they are all mortal. And chances are, too, from a religious standpoint, the reason we don't fear gods, the reason we don't fear deities anymore, is because most of them are gone. Most of them are dead. And I think, which kind of feeds back into what will be the source material if I do get accepted for the opportunity, as well as what is now being renamed to Cryptics, with its first book being called The New World Order, or New World Order, in reference to adjustment of physics and quantum physics between two dimensions that the main character has to deal with. The thing is, like, all things are mortal, and the only difference between here and somewhere else is possibly how physics changes. But other than that, like, right, I was talking about deities and gods. And in this story, then, in Dimension 1, the federal government actually learns how to wield Mjolnir. They learn how to wield the weapons of the gods, and then they proceed to massacre the gods and send who is left out into the stars. And then they rename all of those gods to the Anunnaki, or they portray the gods of various religions, various regions of the world, really, because you think about it and you're like, there are so many different pantheons and so many different religions, polytheistic and monotheistic, from over the centuries. But really the only difference between these gods half the time is that Zeus looks a lot more Greek white than Odin does, because he looks more Northern European white, right? I think there's a great secret that has been kept throughout most of history, whether ancient or modern history, where most of those deities that we understood to be gods were just advanced sentiences that were depicted then as the peoples of their respective regions of the world. They were depicted as Vikings or Greeks or Romans, but they were all the same species of alien. This isn't exactly an original idea either, disclaimer. Ancient Aliens, as a show and program, talks about this a little bit, but not too in detail. But yeah, there's a whole
Ancient Apocalypse?
Or Ancient Aliens is the name of the show on History Channel.
Okay.
Yeah, they talk about it a little bit, and how most likely the ancient gods and deities were actually aliens. And for example, one of the technologies they bestowed upon us was what would allow us in certain parts of the world to do genetic engineering and create genetically modified organisms. Well, the theory is, according to Ancient Aliens, that same technology was used to make like centaurs and minotaurs back in the day. But the thing is, the gods had different capabilities and different levels of capabilities that allowed them to sew different organisms together so seamlessly. So then, keeping that in mind, it's like, in this story then, the gods were most likely killed, or they were sent off into the stars. and that's why you don't really feel the presence of the gods anymore. It's because most of them were either killed or sent off into space, maybe to return someday when they have the balls to, according to the feds, but that's about it. I actually need to briefly pause, so we will be right back. And yeah, continue. Full screen that. Alright, and then we're back. So yeah, ultimately, I've always found it to be a very interesting theory that even if there were like gods and deities before, that most of them probably are dead now. So then even the gods and things that we acknowledge as greater than us, leagues greater than us, they can die too, or they're mortal as well. It's just their mortality and their longevity of life long surpasses that of humanity. That's always been at the back of my mind since I first learned about it. And what I like about Dimensions Unfurled too is that it doesn't dare propose the arrogance that we're the only sentient life. It's just like, we probably shouldn't be curious about other forms of sentient life and other forms of intelligent life, because most likely, if they haven't been here yet, and if for example, Project Bluebeam is a thing, and the deeper context of holographic imagery portraying UAPs and UFOs is real, and they've never actually been here before, we probably don't want them to visit, because the moment they find us, well, we will be utterly annihilated. That stuff always, doesn't haunt me, but I always try to keep that in mind and try to tune into the greater picture of things. But I do believe that we are not only have extraterrestrial sentiences visited us, but I'm pretty sure they're well integrated into our society by now. It's just, it was like, we gave, the federal government and the world governments, they gave us like little bits and pieces, and they're like, they'll never believe this anyway. They won't believe this, because we're not exactly summoning a Grey to speak on live television, because if we did that, then, well, what happened during the War of the Worlds radio broadcast, right? People heard the premise of there being an alien invasion, and there were multiple suicides across the United States, let alone some parts of the world. I don't know if you knew about that, but the War of the Worlds movie with Tom Cruise is based off of a broadcast that was distributed, I think, during World War I or World War II. And they're like, oh my god, aliens are here, aliens are attacking. And this was like just before they could do television, so radio, right? At the time, that was like how you got your information. That's how you would tune in and like participate in sports. But there was one occasion where they did a War of the Worlds frequency, and they did a broadcast saying that there was an alien invasion happening, and multiple people across the United States, they ended up killing themselves because they're like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? Alien invasion coming, and then they just off themselves. So since then, what
Are you talking about like the WOW signal?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because they got like this radio signal that had like these numbers that have like never been seen before. Because I was like, oh, this is like the strongest signal we've ever had, or something like that.
No. So the WOW signal is different. This is based the movie with Tom Cruise in it, War of the Worlds, where there's the alien invasion. That was based off of a social experiment broadcast on radio.
Okay.
Where officials were saying, oh, there's an alien invasion happening. And people took it seriously, and some people decided to commit because they weren't ready for aliens yet. And then after that, I'm pretty sure they did that because they wanted to see how people would react without camera-based technology to kind of keep record of everything, let alone like just being involved in that situation. And I think after the War of the Worlds radio broadcast, at least here in the United States, the federal government said, yeah, I don't think that people are going to be ready anytime soon. So even if we do find aliens, we're not exactly going to make it public. We're not exactly going to say, yes, we found aliens, we have a corpse here at Area 51 in Sector 7. They're like, we're not going to do that. We're just going to keep it hidden, and we're going to keep them in suspense for decades to come. And then once people are finally desensitized and jaded enough from having to work two jobs or work a job whilst going to school or whatever, they'll be too jaded to care, and then we'll just like start spilling everything and be like, yeah, aliens have been real this whole time, which is kind of what's happening right now. And
Did Trump released like one of those UFO tapes from the FBI? I remember that shit. That was pretty fucked up.
yeah. No, they, what was it, yesterday or the day before, they finally released the truth on the JFK assassination, the MLK assassination, and the RFK files. I think next is going to be the Epstein list, the Diddy list, and a whole bunch of shit having to do with the 9/11 files. I think that's going to be phase 2. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to do that because a lot of the people that are on those lists are still in Hollywood and well embedded into Hollywood. But what's really cool, and I think it's going to change a lot of things for the better, is that good old President Trump has also put Mel Gibson and a couple actors as the new Hollywood ambassadors or something like that. He's like, we need to have a little bit more of a filter going on over in Hollywood. That way Hollywood isn't infested and brimmed to the, like, stacked to the brim with pedophiles and like very, very evil people. So he's having Mel Gibson and a couple actors. They're going to be like, yeah, like if you have any dirt, we're clearing you out. Like you're done. You're done in Hollywood. You're never getting another chance. Go F off to Guam or the island of wherever where you belong. Or, hopefully they'll just be arrested because there are way too many actors and actresses in Hollywood right now, whether well-seasoned from like when we were kids or brand new who have been freshly initiated into everything. I do believe the newest people have been, I would say Sabrina Carpenter, but she's just, not really. So, I mean, I think the newest people would probably be like Timothy Chalamet, maybe Tom Holland, and maybe Zendaya, because they did some pretty spicy roles before announcing their engagement. But other than that, it's like I'm just glad to see that a lot of the stuff is now coming into the forefront, and that there's a greater sense of transparency going on, and that the people who have been fighting for that transparency, who have been fighting for the truth, fighting against the greater Hollywood machine, I'm glad that our president has like kind of put them at the top. But kind of looking to conclude then the Under the Skin session for Dimensions Unfurled, and to get closer and closer to wrapping up what is going to be the first date Crosscast session with Celestial Scourge, with this one being with Stain and Erich. After conducting a lobotomy for Dimensions Unfurled and us concluding the first half of the podcast or Crosscast session, talking about bands that inspired all of the members in Celestial Scourge, what distinguishes Dimensions Unfurled from other iconic records relevant to brutal technical death metal, in your own personal opinion?
Give me that last part again.
Right. So, what distinguishes Dimensions Unfurled from other records, other iconic records, maybe even the albums you listen to, like Cattle Decap's Death Atlas, right? What distinguishes Dimensions Unfurled from albums like Death Atlas or Revocation's various albums, Niles' albums in technical death metal, but you softly renamed Celestial Scourge genre-wise to brutal technical death metal? What distinguishes this EP from those other records in your opinion?
Okay. No worries. What distinguishes it? I mean, yeah, kind of like what we talked about a little bit earlier about like the vocal approach. I wouldn't say it's far from original. Very few things are today, but very much the vocal approach. maybe the also I think that you kind of went into a little bit when we went to like lyrical wise, like the seriousness of space and the realities of space and the cosmos, but also like having some fun with it at the same time and not just going batshit goo goo gaga all over it. So yeah, it's like it distinguishes itself by not taking itself too seriously, but we're not going to kindergarten yet.
Yeah, right. So what distinguishes Dimensions Unfurled as well as Celestial Scourge as a band, let alone Dimensions Unfurled as an EP, or perhaps Observers of the Inevitable as your first full-length album. What you would claim is that Celestial Scourge and Dimensions Unfurled balances fun and entertainment with substance.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. And this just happens to be a smaller sample appetizer. Maybe this is like a bag of chips compared to the 5 burgers that you want to go like. Maybe this is the snacks. This is the carbs that balances out that fun with substance compared to what will be Observers of the Inevitable. I like that. And I mean, after all, if nothing else, I think all bands should approach their music with a sense of balancing entertainment and substance. Because the thing is, you're absolutely right. If there were more people like me who were instilling and kind of beating it into more bands that they should have more substance, despite the music already being good, maybe there's a narrative continuity that, similar to bands such as Distant from the Netherlands, Brand of Sacrifice from Toronto, Canada. There are a couple others, but those are the main 2 I can think of. And after all, Brand of Sacrifice and their God Hand / Lifeblood Cycle are one of the things that inspired the Anatomy Crosscast in the first place. That's why I mentioned them. Distant from the Netherlands, with their album Aeons of Oblivion, Tsukiyomi, Heritage. All of those books, or all those albums, have now been turned into books that you can actually read, that you can buy off of their store. So I think that's also the reason that I do what I do, is because I was introduced and started this show with such a high standard. So it's like, could you turn this EP into a book or a show or into a little rentable movie at Blockbuster, even though those don't really exist anymore? It's like, you know what? I don't think I can. It's like, why can't you? Like, don't worry. I'm not that person anymore. I think once upon a time I really wanted to be, but again, you have to understand the balance between entertainment and substance. If you don't allow yourself to have fun and you're taking yourself too seriously with the intricateness of a release, I mean, really the only reason I approach my creations like that is because at the end of the day, I am so behind financially that when I do have the money to like belt feed into music, whether for possibly this opportunity for the technical death metal band if it goes well, which it seems to be more traditional for fans of The Faceless, Spawn of Possession, and Necrophagists. That's the impression I'm getting right now. That's what the guy told me I should be kind of like researching. When I have the money to belt feed into these things, I personally want there to be like so much intricate substance and narrative depths to all my creations that people could easily compare it to the lyrical deaths of one Garrett Russell of Silent Planet. If you, my friend Eric, if you haven't had the chance to listen to Silent Planet yet, do it. The Silent Planet is...
Silent Planet?
Yeah, Silent Planet. And more specifically in reference to the aliens and UFOs and encounters with the third kind, I would listen to the album Super Bloom. That was actually released on my 24th birthday. Yes, yeah. Really, really good album.
Check it out.
Yeah, it's metalcore. but like there's a lot of electronic elements, and their song Signal is probably the heaviest thing they've ever written. You might even compare it to technical death metal a little bit with how like weird and strange and alien it sounds, how fall and chuggy it sounds too. Yeah, but I have Silent Planet at the DNA of my lyrical writing, because with their prior albums, like When the End Began, The Night God Slept, and Everything Was Sound, well, you go into the descriptions of most of their songs and they'll have like numbered, bulletin, ordered references to like philosophers or certain parts of history as the song goes along. Like sometimes it's just stanza by stanza, line by line. It's insane. So that's really the only reason I do this show, is because I want to see how many other bands are doing that around the world, and how many bands plan to do that going into the near future. And if not, it's like, well, how do you balance out that substance or lack thereof with the more entertaining parts of your music? But moving on from that question then, how and why did Dimensions Unfurled become an EP instead of an album? Now for me, I've understood in my 3 to 4 years now doing the Crosscast and doing Sean Cross, oftentimes it is from a marketing approach. It's like you can't really come out the gate with a full-length album unless if you're one of the most popular bands, period, in your part of the world. For example, Eden Adversary with Kingdoms of Heresy. They came out the gate with a full-length album after Lords of Gehenna featuring Agun from Makluk, and that ended up acting as the infant annihilator blasphemian of Southeastern Asia. And then they would release Kingdom of Heresy, which featured multiple other franchise, true counterculture bands from Malaysia, from Java, from Indonesia, right? So they were able to do that, and I think they did it with precision because they were one of the biggest, they are still one of the biggest acts over in Malaysia. Other than them, I can't really think of anything else except for Hain from the island of Malta, in which they came out the gate recently with their newest full-length album. But mind you, there was a self-titled EP before. Does Dimensions Unfurled continue that approach? Was it a, we're not that big yet, and there are plenty of other technical death metal bands, let alone bands in Norway. So maybe let's not come out the gate with a full-length album right off the bat. Was that the approach, or was there something else going on?
I think to answer that, like, because the 5 songs were just 5 like guitar and bass tabs that Stian had, and there were just five demos, and I think we just, because it's easier to swallow for a lot of people today, especially with like the amount of attention span people don't have anymore, and like the album that's coming out in February, like it's not longer than 30 minutes or something like that, like just over 30 minutes. Like one thing is that the music itself is fast and vicious and doesn't really take any breaks.
Right.
So it doesn't kind of, like, it would be a disservice to have like a 1 hour long Celestial Scourge album, because that's too much for us as well. Like not only the listener, but absolutely for us as well, because like we prefer to just look at Dimensions Unfurled is like the small Red Bull can, and Observers of the Inevitable is like the big one.
I see.
Like you get enough energy from both, but a little more in the bigger one. But it's easier for us to, like, those were the amount of songs we just had. It was easier for us to just go for that, like time wise and scheduling wise, and just like, oh, let's write 5 other songs and spend a lot of time on that. Like we just wanted to make the gears move as fast as possible, because we're really impatient guys. We like to make shit happen fast. And it's also easier for us to approach labels like, because demos were a really big thing before. It's kind of coming back now, like just to have like 3-4 songs to just showcase. Though this is kind of the sound we got going on. That's kind of like Dimensions of World. Yeah, as you said, it's like the small appetizer before the main course.
Right.
So it's mainly just because of the logistics and the time when it came out and how we wanted to approach labels and just market ourselves and build it up to like, oh, okay, now's the fucking album, like the whole shebang is coming now, and like, so that we just don't go out on a limb and just like powerhouse us through an album to begin with, and then it like semi-flops. Then we're like, okay, let's do an EP after that. Like, we prefer to build ourselves up instead of like just going all for it and then just find shit out. Like, so strategic, yes and no.
I see.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Okay, cool. Well, I do believe then that would be the end of the Under the Skin
Ooh.
session.